Podcast, a podcast about the game of life and the hero's journey we all experience. Let's jump in with our host, Dylan Watkins, as he introduces today's guest.
What does it mean to be a part of an online Meta VR community? Well, Andy from the Meta VR community is once known as Oculus VR Community and the Oculus Rift VR Community. Andy will tell you. Andy was first introduced to VR around 1998 as a traveling headset that made to the Google Cardboard look like a actual travesty. So, a gut-wrenching monstrosity still planted the seed for him, grew into fruition upon the release of the CV1, which would lead him into the hobby he waited half a lifetime for. And through almost random chance and not knowing when to volunteer, led him to be a part of a small team running one of the largest Oculus Facebook groups in the world. You can call it Meta, but just like calling a Marathon a Snicker, you wouldn't be wrong. So without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Andy. Yo,
Hi.
Andy.
Oh, it's great to be here.
I'm excited to be here. I'm pretty sure I butchered your bio, and I apologize.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
You would be wrong if you called a Marathon A Snickers. That's the name that used to be in this country, and still are in my head.
Oh my God, it's so fun, man. I appreciate the deep state. Yeah, first of all, let people know where you're dialing in from, and so that people can understand when you say calling a marathon a Snicker.
All right. Well, I am coming in from Scotland. I'm actually on the Isle of Skye in Scotland, one of the rural communities. So, yeah, I might be referring to things. I don't know if in America you ever had marathons, which were Snickers.
I've seen them in references. But it's been a minute. Although there's some beauty to obscure references that people make as it go through things that you might miss it like several times, but when you hits it just lands so beautifully. And so I appreciate as many obscure references that I'm sure we'll go through this show. But it's one of the things I've really enjoyed about rapping with you. And we connected, through, I run one of the Meta VR communities on a Facebook group. You run the other one. We've kind of cross-pollinated back and forth. And I've had an amazing time just really shooting the shit with you, all things VR related and just kind of what's going on in the industry. And so, I'd love to kind of get, besides the butchered background that I did on your bio, I'd love to get a bit of just kind of like what led you along the journey to running one of the world's largest Oculus, aka Meta VR communities.
Well, I mean, it would start off. I mean, everyone's watched Lawnmower Man, and you've read your Neuromancer, all that sort of thing, which gets you started. But around 1998, I was working for a small company, a small startup. It was one of the early internet companies, but we ended up making a 16-station network, gaming network. For a local amusement park, which naturally meant we had a big wad of cash land in our lap that we weren't used to.
Yeah.
So we went on a shopping spree, right? A bit of a shopping spree. So one of these items was a VR helmet, right? We all were going, oh, this looks impressive. I mean, it certainly was big. I mean, this thing, I would estimate it probably weighs about 3 times the weight of motorcycle helmet, and I really wish I could remember the brand and type of it, but it was a monstrosity with 2 small cathode ray tubes in your face. Its own card to attach to the computer, and I believe it was Matrox Mystiques showing the sort of age. And this thing was not comfortable. For reasons best known to itself. For its tracking, it needed to know your actual geolocation. You needed to know your latitude and longitude.
Interesting.
I am sure there is some science there. I'm sure a bit of Googling I could find it out easily. I never have actually gone down that road, though.
So it was half part virtual reality machine, half part scoliosis maker. So, yeah.
And this thing, you actually had a port of Quake for it. That was the one game that we had. So it was the one game we played on it, right? It never did anything practical or commercial in the company. It was for playing Quake on. but it would lose calibration all the time. At which point you would be standing there and you would just go into a total spin. So we all became rather skilled at ripping off this monstrosity very, very quickly. Before, I mean, the VR sickness that gave you, makes anything modern feel trivial.
I'm feeling that cold sweats from the old. From I think one thing is like the DK1 days, you know, where like nothing tracked, and you know, you get up in the Tuscany demo, and then all of a sudden, like you just get the shivers because you just wouldn't move, and I just okay. So you're, you know, you're a masochist. You like that? That's great. You're a big fan.
I have to admit, at the time, it was still a novelty, right? You used it, and then some masochistic part of you kept on drawing you back every few days to try it again, and you'd go through the same again. But it planted a seed, right? You'd seen the virtual reality. You'd seen how amazing it could be to be in a world. I mean, that was a time when I remember there was VRML was like a virtual reality meta language was one of these things that we're trying to develop for the web.
Oh yeah.
Now it's a virtual reality something league, master league, is it?
Yeah.
The original, the early meetings completely fallen aside. That was probably the reason that we put on the books why we got this on for VRML development. But it would make Google Cardboard look like a polished product. And I have to admit, Google Cardboard I have got an awesome amount of respect for. I mean, that was a project that wasn't even started officially in Google. There was some developers in their own time that Google went, hey, you know what? You know, do that in paid time. And it used what was around to make a very basic headset.
Yeah.
Which worked.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, you still felt the magic. It's the magic plus the sickness. And you're like, it's like, it's almost awesome. Right. It kept getting almost awesome. So at what point did it go from almost awesome to you to being awesome?
Well, that was a CV1, right? I'm not quite sure how in my life I skipped the DK1 and DK2. But when the CV1 came out, that was I got that practically on launch. I had to wait a year like everyone else till we had touch controllers like these posh people with the vibes, you know. We got an Xbox controller and a Wii Puck, which, you know, it did a good job. There were a lot of the control interfaces actually where you'd be looking at something and you'd get the wee dial going around to show you when you were activating it. They found a lot of ways around doing controls without the touch controllers, but that was definitely the next step. The next step was when you got the touch controllers. I mean, between in that year space, you know, it had landed, but it wasn't perfect. You know, it got to a stage where you could use it daily. You knew you were not going to feel nauseous unless you were doing something really stupid or your computer broke, right? And there's definitely a story about the computer breaking in that.
So that was a progression. Like, getting the Xbox controller and just going, hey guys, it's seated. I remember for a while, Oculus, aka Meta, whatever, they're like, hey, this is VR is a seated experience, and because you had 360 controller, you could hook it up, and that was actually a really cool experience. And that was great. But then of course, you know, people wanted to stand, people wanted to do stuff, people want to move because you feel that urge.
And they saw the videos of the people with a Vive.
Oh yeah.
Now that did cost a lot more. I mean, that was out with my budget at the time, right?
Yeah.
But I suppose anything can be taken into your budget, but it means giving up something else.
Yeah.
But,
I ended up driving several hours and talking to the Valve team to say, hey, I had we had this demo to try to get a Valve headset, and it was we did Road Rash VR. That was our demo that we made, and and we're like, can you please give us a Vive headset? We really need it for this development. And it was a terrible demo. But the guy liked Road Rash, right? We didn't really understand because it was really funny at the time. Because, you know, Road Rash, you'd hit someone like a little stick, right? As you're like, right? You're in your motorcycle and you're riding along and you'd hit somebody. And so we did that. But then when you'd hit someone, the physics, you would flip, you know, over and over and over and over and over and over again in VR. and that was just like an instant.
That would
Yeah, we're just
go
like,
killer.
you're just like, oh god, no. But but it got us that, and we are like, oh my god, thank you so much. It was like I was so glad to get that. So we couldn't afford it either. But we begged our way to the top, and so my lips are definitely brown from that one.
Hey, you got the headset.
I know.
That's what mattered.
So okay, so bring it. So that you got the CV one, you got that, you got the Oculus Touch controllers, you moved that along the way, which was awesome. And then bring me into the whole community space. How'd you get into the community? What does that look like?
Well, when at that stage, you were just going around joining every VR group that you saw, and the Oculus Rift group. Well, I had the Rift. It was just a nice little small group, passing forwards and backwards the hints there. I just fell in with that. That became my primary group. I don't know if you know the feeling when you've joined half a dozen groups on a topic, but you get a group that you just feel like you fit in. You like the attitude there best. And that was okay. The group had got to about 300 members, and it was run by Lenny Lacey. And he put out a pinned post there going that he needed a bit of help and wondered if there was anyone who would be happy to help moderating. So I put my name forward. I've had, when it comes to forums and all that sort of thing, I mean, I was a bulletin board operator in the 90s, which a lot of people here may not know, but that's when one computer would dial into another. You had a time limit so other people could get their shot. You could leave emails for other people. From there onwards, I'd run multiple forums. I've got a systems administration background, so I've nearly always had a co-located server. So whatever I'm doing, somebody needed a set of forums. I was right, fine, I'll set that. Just put it up in mine. Like let's not bother with whatever service it's putting adverts all over it just to do that. So I mean, a lot of that was with guilds and MMOs, that sort of thing. So it was kind of second nature to be running forum groups to me. So I thought, you just put my name forward.
Well, it's interesting. Well, it's interesting how MMOs are and we don't think about it, is the online gaming communities, like an actual inside the games, inside the guild and stuff. It's super similar to being a part of online communities and these different groups that they have now, right? Because I know I was a part of like WoW guilds and things like that, where I'd have all my worker friends together. We all had stuff. I mean, and you have these guilds, but it feels strikingly similar, like the MMO communities and just online, just virtual communities. It seems like there's a clear transition from being able to meet inside the games to online to now inside VR games. There's a lot of crossover there.
There is.
Yeah. And so how has it shifted for you? Like you're talking about going into the running the online VR community. How's it changed from doing the bulletin boards and servers, co-located? What's changed?
Well, when you're looking at a Facebook group, I'm no longer the top dog. When you own the server, it doesn't matter what happens. You can change anything, you can fix anything. So at this point, one of the biggest changes is Facebook get to say what you can do and what you can't do. And they also get to come in and interfere. And then when you get used to something, they come in and change things just to keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
They've done that. I mean, in your own time, with the groups, you've seen them change the way that the public systems are handled. Which, we've got used to now, adapted to. I would not say welcomed with open arms. I mean, they took away systems we used to be able to go, right, here is your set of questions, you answer them, and we choose if you get in the door or not.
Yeah.
Whereas now they've got this system where anyone can come in, but you can restrict when they do a first post or when they do a first comment, which works to some degree, but to be honest, the earlier system was best. You could spot bots a mile away and just have them out of the way beforehand. Now, you can spot most bots, but when they're trying to make their first post, but then you get your sleeper ones, which will intentionally just post something banal at the start, sleep for a month, and then you suddenly get all their crap coming up in your group.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been times when the group has suffered badly from, it was your video spam bots for a while. We just had no means of controlling them, and eventually, Facebook gave us some more of the controls back, and we learned how to use their framework a bit better. It's one of these things where I'd say Facebook, I'm still going where didn't implement that very well, because even when there were mechanisms we could use, they had not given the information to people like us. And we're talking about Oculus products. We're actually advocating one of their services and not being given the information how to moderate it.
Yeah.
And then now they can step in themselves, and you go like, okay, we have removed these posts for such and such a reason, and you can agree or disagree. Most of the time that's done with AI. Whether you class it as artificial intelligence or artificial ignorance can vary quite a lot. And I myself, I've fallen foul of their AI. Right. At one point, it was actually the very day we hit our 50,000th member. And I was going into that expecting the biggest celebration ever, for the group. But instead, I was getting like the rest of the team, which by this stage had become an admin, and we'd got John Watts and Arnuki Russell poached. Well, not poached, because they still were obviously in the original places that they were adminning themselves, but brought them into the team. And we are looking maybe a 3-year gap between all this happening. But they were all like, well, what have you done? Why is Facebook now got a quality alert about the group? Because you approved a post. And I was sort of there for 2 months. It actually had, anytime they went into the quality section, it gave them a big button offering to kick me off the admin team. All of the rest of the team, which was a bit of a slap in the face, I have to admit. But there was no one to take this to, right?
Yeah.
And there was also, I couldn't even say what post was approved. I knew the name of the person, right? They had removed the post, removed all history. So you're just kind of going like, okay, you're guilty for allowing a post which we're not going to show you anymore. And you're thinking, well, I've got to deal with 50, 100 posts a day. Sometimes you can be in a rush. And so, sometimes the system itself is fairly hard to work within.
Yeah. And see, that's a challenge, because it's one thing, it's like there's a lot of friction, and we love Oculus or the virtual reality systems. It's amazing. It's so fun. It's so incredible. And that's why we advocate for them. It's fun to play. It's fun to be a part of. It's fun to talk with you. It's also fun.
And I still advocate, even though I may throw some stones back at them there.
Yeah. And you're like, come on, guys, can you make it a little easier for us to love your products and love what you do? I still love doing that the Phantasm game with you guys, like
oh, Phasmophobia.
Yeah, Phasmophobia. Dude, so fun. You get together your friends, you have a good time. It's not quite the old school LAN days, LAN gaming, you get together. I used to do that. We used to network them all together. We would do World of Warcraft, or not World of Warcraft, but we do Warcraft 3, we do Counter-Strike, we do a bunch of those style games.
You young whippersnapper. We were like Doom and Quake were our favorite. Duke Nukem, of course, you couldn't miss out. But we were using the old network cards that the local college was throwing out.
Yeah.
And I was friendly with their computer services unit, because we were all nerds, right?
Yeah.
So when they were upgrading to 10 base T, I got probably about 20 or 30 of their old cards and piles of their old network cable, and that was it. When we had we'd have the weekends, we'd get together and just put these cards in people's machine and go, oh yeah, no, just keep the card. We've got plenty of them. And kill each other for a weekend. Normally fueled by quite a lot of alcohol.
Yes, and that I think is a very constant throughout the gaming circles, is there's additional fuel of inspiration going long and strong, and usually cans of things hanging out everywhere. so many amazing nights with my friends playing that and pizza boxes. I don't know if you guys do pizzas over there and stuff too. But,
Oh yes,
yeah,
pizzas are definitely a
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Oh my God, I had I remember talking because one of my friends, his name's Dave Taylor. He helped code Doom and Quake. And he was talking about also networking them all together, and they do these like network parties where they try to get together and build these multiplayer systems, and then they try to code a game and make a game and play a game all at his college campuses, trying to do that same thing where not only playing the games but making the games as well, which I think is so fun and cool. And did you guys with the amusement park thing? Did you ever make the amusement park, or did you just spend it all on graphics cards and good times?
Well, with the amusement park, we would make mods for things like Quake, which was, of course, one of the favourites in there. I don't think Quake allowed 16 players at that time, even though it was a 16-player station, set of stations. It was Coriona's in Aberdeen, which was quite a big place, and it was the fourth dimension was the name of the wing that was housing this. It was, again, that was these machines also had the Matrox Mystiques, the same as the one that was running the VR that we had.
Yeah.
But I've lost the track of where I was going there.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the coding the games. I said, did you end up ever building that for the amusement parks? They said because you got that windfall of cash. Were you able to actually build the applications? Were you able to build mods? I know you got the sometimes.
Just like a bit of Quake mods, that sort of thing.
That's beautiful. So that like because we got the game the Arena Rivals that we've been working on for far too long. I haven't told anybody yet, but you got to play it. A lot of the game mechanics we actually inspired from Quake, with a lot of the way things are moved and some of the mechanics and the rockets and the shotguns and things like that. A lot of that.
Oh, forget everything except the grenades.
Yeah. I haven't told anybody yet, but you'll be the first person I told actually publicly. Is that it's available on App Lab now. So if you go to App Lab,
nice.
So I figured to tell you first is if you go on your Oculus phone or whatever your app, you download it, you can get Arena Rivals and you can download it and start playing it. And so we have our the Last Rival Standing tour. Our game mode called LRS, which is called Last Rival Standing. It's a free for all.
Yes. Yeah.
So this Saturday we're having a whole tournament. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we've got a number of players coming in, cash prizes. But you go in and you just do.
I got an email on that, and I'm going to have to check the times because that might be just when somebody's visiting from about 250 miles away that I haven't seen in years. They're just going, oh really?
Don't worry. I'll be with you later. No, I totally get it, man.
Well, a better plan. I'll just get it on the Quest 1 headset and throw that at him. Now, the one thing that you did quietly is I noticed you've got the Sweet Escape on the Quest now.
Oh yeah. We ported it over to the Quest. We're going for the approval for App Lab. I don't know if we got approved yet for App Lab, but yeah, we ported over Sweet Escape to there, and then we're just trying to get approval. Once we get approved, they were checking updates like every single time you try to update the game. Then their the MetaQuest team, they would review it and say yes or no, but I guess they got overwhelmed, and so just this week they're just like, just fine, whatever, it's updated, it's fine. So now we have that whole update cycle that we don't have to wait like 2 weeks or 3 weeks
good.
As a developer, when you go to try to push something, and then there's a 3-week development delay, it can kind of piss off a lot of the gamers that play the game and stuff. So we were excited about that, about them being overwhelmed, a positive benefit of their love and stuff. So, but anyway, it reminds me of those days that for me, it was Halo. For me, it was these other games where you'd get together and you would bring all your friends in a room, you'd network everything together, and then there'd just be screaming and talking trash from the different rooms.
Oh, when you heard the expletives from the other room, you were going,
like, shh, it's gonna happen. Oh yeah. Yeah, for you, like in terms of magic moments in VR, give me like what are some magic moments when you think of it, times with your friends or times by yourself, that really kind of warms the cockles of your heart?
Oh, that's hard to say. I do a lot of my VR on my own. I think I
Yeah.
kind of like to unplug, be on my own. Of course, not when I'm playing like Arena Rivals, but
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
um, so for me, I love visiting. I like ports a lot. I like a lot of the ports that are out there.
Mm.
So there's games like Borderlands 2, Skyrim VR,
Yes.
and
Right.
because I've got unusually high tolerance to motion sickness, we can get to that. This is all to do with Dirt Rally and Asphalt, and I noticed like Scotland's Werewolf in there, who also had a lot of fun with this one because he had he suffered from VR sickness very, very badly, but he would push through it.
Yeah. 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 He's got. Yeah. Say what's up from Scotland Werewolf. There, he's talking about how you
Yeah.
introduced him to virtual reality. He was blown away,
Uh,
and he did so.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he runs his own like racing channel like on under his own name there. Unfortunately, not VR because of the sickness, but I have seen him do 30 minutes, 40 minutes in VR racing just because he would not let it beat him. That was, oh
Fighting through the pain for the fun, man. And
yeah.
so you've gotten some calluses with your nausea there by going through this. So you like these quiet moments. I know Sky
Oh,
incredible.
oh yeah. Sorry, I strayed, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason there is because if we look at something like Borderlands 2, right?
Yeah.
That was one which I introduced Donnie that Scotland's Werewolf to, and we both played a lot of that in the 2D, right?
Yeah.
So for me, getting into a world that I have played inside and out, yeah, I've put so many hours into things like Borderlands 2, and then to be able to go into it in VR.
Mhm.
Skyrim is like one that I I don't know how many times I've completed it. Every time I start it, I decide I am not going to be a sneaky rogue this time. Yeah, that lasts about a day. But being able to go through all of that in VR, and of course, you mod it up. And as my computer slowly become more powerful, Skyrim is almost a triple A game in VR once you get it nice and modded. But reliving these games I have played so much on consoles and on PC,
Yeah.
but going into VR, Half-Life. How could we do this without mentioning Half-Life? All right.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a game I've got
Gorgeous.
on so many different platforms, and you've got is it Doctor Beef that made the Quest 2 ports of it, where you can use the original files, your data files, and run it
Yeah.
on the Quest 2. You got Alex, which is
Yeah.
it's just a poster child, that game.
Yeah. Can you think of a moment in any of those games where you're like you lost yourself and you really felt because I feel like being a VR junkie that we are, right? Like we kind of have this like hunt for novelty, right? And we're like we eat it, we're like and it goes right. And we finish it up and we try to find what's that next one. But then there's those moments inside
Maybe
VR.
it's not. Yeah, maybe not in the game. I think maybe one of the things that really gives these moments of clarity was I don't know if you ever uh, viewed in VR or in real life We Are Stars.
No, I haven't tried We Are
Oh,
Stars.
right. It's by Andrew something. Andy Shaw, I think, was the name of the creator of it. Now, this is one of these experiences that you get played in your 360 domes
Oh,
originally. It came to VR after. It was an obvious thing for coming into VR. And it looks almost childlike when you're going in with these square-headed cartoony characters,
uh,
very childlike. And it is something that you can put a child into. But this is cosmology at its best. It is showing you the creation of the universe, what happens inside stars, right? But
oh,
it's in a format which you could put a 5-year-old into or an 85-year-old into, and anyone in between. And it
yeah.
gives you amazing senses of scale. Um, so I mean, that the moment I think would be rather than a moment, I would say just that feeling when you see the scale of the universe in VR.
But that's one of
Right.
those things about VR, right? Is that scale, man, is your ability
Yeah.
to be infinitely big, and then that expansiveness, and you feel that horizon, you feel that growth, and you're like, and almost like you feel that need to take that deep
Mhm.
breath in because it's almost like I feel like the sense of awe, like the word awe,
Mhm.
I think, and this is, I don't know if this is true. I feel like I'm the one who made this up, but maybe someone else has done this before. But I think it's a rendering issue. The same way when your GPU is trying to render a scene that's too big, when you try to take in the grandeur of the cosmos on the
Yeah.
screen or whatever it is, like all of a sudden it's running on your eyeballs, and you're like, oh, I think that's that sense of awe and what you're talking about right there.
You're
So
almost falling screaming into the abyss.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Other things that make that moment in VR
Yeah.
is, I'm going to blame Joe Motz on this, right? He has
Mhm.
cost me a fortune, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, he actually has a game with Lenny where they see which one can get me to buy something. So the one thing that he definitely got me on was your Haptics vests, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, the
And
strap a vest
yeah,
on, you feel the haptics with the beats and things going on?
oh yes, yes. And just when you go into now, you could think of Half-Life Alyx or of Skyrim with a mod. When your like health is low and you start suddenly feeling your heart pounding in your chest,
Uh-huh.
right? Because it's
Yeah,
not just like, people go like, oh yes, this is where you feel the bullet impacts and all that sort of thing. Yeah, that's nice, that's brilliant, and the recoil.
uh-huh.
But it's the heartbeat, it's the rain falling on your shoulders. It's when you're
Yeah.
healing and you feel a spiral going up your body. So you're getting that feeling of magic. It's a
Oh,
feeling of magic that you can't experience in real life.
I wanna try that. I haven't
You have
see,
to.
I only got to try a little sample. One was something I made years ago with a VR electrocution game, but that was a long time ago. And the only other time was
Hmm.
at GDC a couple of weeks ago. But I only got to try it just a little bit. But it was like some small demos, right? A couple of raindrops, but it
Yeah.
wasn't in conjunction of being lost in a virtual world while those types of things are going on, like a healing wave going up your body or other things going across you as you're completely immersed. It's more like a programmer demo where you're in a gray cubed room with, gray cube squares falling on you. So,
Mhm.
um, so you were able to hook that up, and does it automatically integrate in it? But how do you get it? So you order it online, and what's the process for getting it up and going?
Well, you got different. You get native support in some games, right?
Yeah.
So Half-Life Alyx, or on Quest, you've got something like what's the archery one I love so much? In Death, right?
Oh, yeah.
So with these, you just literally just go into the menu and turn on the Haptics, and that's it. It'll attach to the various pieces that are supported. You got your boxing ones, which will use the headpiece, but that's a lot of money for not a lot of fun, not
Yeah.
so much use.
Mhm.
Um, you get a lot of other ones where, right, Skyrim, that's a pain in the posterior, right? So you got to put in the Skyrim script extender first of all, which is getting easier with various Nexus mods and that, but it used to be a royal pain in the posterior. And then you've got to add that mod on top of it.
Uh-huh.
But most of the mods are actually just, click a couple of buttons and sometimes hit an inject at the start of a game. Sometimes
And
it'll
you're
manage
ready
to.
to go.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, it's got audio version like you can do with your Woodger, but that's okay. But if it didn't have like a native modes, then everyone would be going how wonderful the audio mode was. But once you've got the
I can't wait. I'm super curious to try it out completely immersed in like a high-end
Mhm.
Alex or something like that because I haven't had the luxury of that yet. So
Mhm.
I'm super curious to try that out. I know there are certain people that just take it to the limit, right? I feel like I'm an extremist when it comes to, because I'm, deep in VR and all that stuff and I have a fancy chair and all this other stuff. I
Yes.
remember playing with you and John. And I'm like, hey guys, check out the game. And I see you in your chair, right? You're just chilling in your chair. And I see John strap the legs. He's getting inside his whole roller deck. He's got his whole thing. He's got the mod thing on. And I was like, oh, he's not playing. John's not playing at all. He's ready to rock. And he's just sprinting, nothing, turning like this, full rotations. And you're just cruising in your chair like this, right? Like I am. Right? I was just like, oh man, he's just
Um,
he's just he's just
well,
gonna beat you with technology, you know.
I'll never catch up with the catwalks. I don't think. I don't have the space or the budget for these.
Yeah.
But you do get things which get quite close. I mean, I've got the cyber shoes. I don't know if you've seen these at all.
I've heard of them. I haven't really tried them out at all. Like the catwalks, what you're referring to, is the 360 kind of bowl that people stand in. You kind of step in this almost this diaper like thing, right? And then you can kind of you can run and sprint inside of it, just so for people that can visualize what you're talking about. Versus the other one, which you're talking about, the cyber shoes. Is that the ones that are? Which ones are those? So that's not the one that turns.
It's you sit in a swivel chair. And you put on these overshoes, which have got rollers in the bottom. Now you've got two different receivers, one for your PC and one which is made for the Quest. So it can be used in both of these. And quite literally, you're running while sitting. So it's quite good if you've got a limited space, right? Because you're not going to run into a wall.
Yeah.
Well, not unless you do something really quite impressive.
Yeah.
But which I have to admit, given a few drinks, is quite a possibility. but you'll also find you get games which implement if you pick up both your feet, it'll jump, right? And a lot of games don't need. Well, you don't actually get games with it implemented directly. It more or less acts as it just looks like a treadmill in one mode, or as a joystick in another mode to the game, and when you turn around and start running, and it can also track your waist direction rather than just your head and your hands,
there's that full body tracking. I think is really powerful. Like we're not there where it's like you do have to put on a whole bunch of pieces, like all these straps and all this stuff to kind of get lost. But like that, I think what's one of those things that I think a lot of VR people is seeking is like, hey, can I have eye tracking? Can I have some sort of facial tracking? Can I have full body tracking? Yeah. There's a lot of things that we're hoping like the next version of the Meta Quest 3 coming out is going to hopefully have those pieces. What technology are you most excited for coming out, a part of these pieces? Like what's not quite here yet, or something here that you really want to get your hands on?
Oh, well, should I just break out my Kickstarter shopping list? I've gone through like failures in there as well. I did back the ill-fated Feel Real, which had different scent systems, and it also had heated and cooled wind blowers in there and a little sprayer. But alas, for reasons which I don't really believe very much on their campaign, it didn't come to fruition. I think they were honest enough, but I think they tried to give a reason for their failure that didn't quite match up with trying to make themselves look a bit better, and instead made everyone go, "Aye, right." And you have to remember in Scotland, like we've got a difference here. Where two positives actually make a negative. When you're talking mathematically. So aye, right. Yeah. But other things I have backed at the moment I'm waiting on would be you've got the Shockwave suit, right? Which I think has probably got a 50-50 chance. They're claiming it's about to start hitting the full manufacturing. The first suits are going out to influencers and that sort of thing, and that is a combined tracking and haptics suit, right? Oh. So it is not going to do the same level of haptics as some of your B haptics.
Yeah,
but it's a suit that you wear, and it gives you both in a oneer. So you want to play blade and sorcery, you can be kicking,
Well, that's awesome, because you're talking about that's a two-way input system, right? And that's one of the things that we're looking with virtual reality. That's why the eye tracking would be so awesome, because you can not only see things, but it also tracks your eyes. You have that two-way input. And what's awesome about that is because you have those IMU sensors or things like that. You can strap on a whole bunch of things on your body, and then you can track your body. But what you're saying is that it does tracking and also does haptics. So not only can it track my hand to hit the wall, but then also the haptics on the hand or on the arm will happen. So if I go to block something, and then it will raise my arm, but if an axe comes down, it will actually give me a sense of feedback right back in that system, right? That's cool. That's that Ready Player One kind of stuff that we all want.
Yeah. I'll also like because that one's taking so long, right? I did back the Axis, which is just a set of IMU trackers, I think there's something like 11 of them in the full set. That one's a wee bit delayed, but I've got high confidence for that one. You know, I've got the feel of where these. You know, I've done enough of the failed projects to have a good feel now. You know.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with them is they're actually changing their control unit to a mobile phone, which they're supplying.
Oh.
Yeah, well, you think it does kind of make sense because that's got all the IMU stuff in it already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess that they'll probably buy something which is kind of an older generation quite cheaply because
Android One kind of thing.
It doesn't really need, well, I mean, it could be quite a modern Android version, but it doesn't need a lot of high-tech stuff. I mean, what's in a phone, even a 5-year-old phone, is probably a good little processor for one of these units.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, yeah, repurposing the technology that's already out there right now and using it. I mean, because there's a lot of really, really good tech. You don't need to have an iPhone 13 and all that crazy jazz to do this kind of stuff.
No.
So that's awesome. Yeah, it's when they try to make those technical hurdles, right? Like Magic Leap is like, oh, we're gonna have the greatest augmented reality in the world. Give us billions to figure it out, right? And it's like, man, that's hard. You're competing against Facebook and everybody else. That's like,
I of course have one of the early is it Leap Motion or Motion Leaps? Which
tape on your face and you can like, oh, look at my hand. It's really cool.
But that was the wrong place to put it. You should always have it in your chest.
Yeah,
because that way it can track your hands so much better. You didn't have your skeletons going quite so wobbly when you did that.
I had a Razor Hydra that was strapped to my chest. They're supposed to have it on the ground. So I put the Razor Hydra. I duct taped it to my chest so that I
hate you. I wanted one of these and never managed to track one down.
Oh man! All right, so you got those ones. Are there any other ones along those paths that stick out to you?
Well, the ones that you've already mentioned, right? Yeah. Your eye tracking and your face tracking, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think the eye tracking would be a lot better for me at the moment, though. In about a month's time, I will be. Let's just say I'll have less hair than you, right? Got a bit of a charity shearing happening for local nurses.
Oh, that's awesome, man! Don't worry. If you go back to my podcast, because I do them 2 a week, you can see my beard get really long and then just get cut. And it was like you watch it.
You realize I am now going to get bored, get screenshots of all that, and do a morph of it.
No, thank you.
Face tracking might not work quite so well for me at the moment until that happens.
Yeah.
Other nice little thing is my entire head side is going to get cut off in a full ponytail, so that can go to kids with leukemia for wigs.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's one thing. I'll say this, man. The one thing I really appreciate, dude, is we had a really good talk. You gave me some really good advice. So my mom's got some issues with forgetfulness, Alzheimer's, all those things. You had some things like that. You gave me some really good advice, and so I went soup to nuts across the whole board. I've got everything now set up, and I've been really designing because she's in the earlier stages of it where she's starting to forget, but I can still train her on things. So I've taken. I've gotten all those camera systems set up now. I've got those motions. I got those motion things set up. I got the door tracking set up. I got it all set up through the Amazon security systems. And then what I now did is I took, a whiteboard and the calendar planner and all the phone numbers and I put them all in one areas. And I'm trying to do this human-centered design thing where I'm like, okay, I put up on the left-hand side, I go, step 1, when bored, do these things, call this guy, do this thing. Was step 2, here's the list of phone numbers. Step 3, here's the calendar. Right. And so I'm making it to where she can go through it. And so I really appreciate you taking the time because we had a really good, deep conversation in VR and then brought it into.
I fully intend to steal the idea back of you and the whiteboard, the screen and the camera.
Oh,
it's a two-way street. I get to steal your ideas as well. I'm sorry. I get to gain from your experience.
Oh yes. Because gain away, sir, gain away. But it's very cool, man. Well, that's one thing is as we're having fun, man, we realize that life's still going to come in. We got families, we've got experiences. We still deal with people's drama and I think the friendships that we make as we're playing and having fun and because it got meaningful, man. We're damn, we have these things we've got to deal with. And it was really nice knowing that my mom's safe, she's taken care of, and I've got these systems and I know that I can at least take active steps to helping her set her up the best way possible so that you can do that. And and so I was gonna say thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the time
Oh, not a worry.
and help me make
You
that
think
happen.
of it's probably your Arrival Arenas that's that you can like credit for that, because it's really like after we've had like test sessions and whatever, and then we just stop and chat for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, that where our home life started coming out and going, oh, all right, okay, like yeah, I've got this situation, and
Yeah.
you're preparing to avoid this one.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, oh man, that's so helpful. Thank you so much. I was like, because if you feel very alone when you don't, then I think it's one thing sometimes like in the gaming space, like you game because it's nice to be by yourself and play around. And there's a bunch of games that I play. I spend a ton of times playing Hades and other games where I just get like lost. But like when you sometimes connect with people and you're like, oh shit, this got serious and it's actually really meaningful. So on that note, like what experiences do you play in social VR? Are there games that you play with that? Are there any things that you can talk to me about times that you've had like cool or interesting stories that come to mind about spending time with people in social VR?
Well, in social VR, I mean to get into a little bit more VR chat and like explore that. I do go into alt space a bit, and well, I quite enjoy like the Oculus. There's Oculus for Oculus Quest for over 40s. There's a group there, and they quite often do their little group outings in alt space, which is quite nice.
Alt space is really pretty. It's actually really the graphics are really clean. But last time I was in there, I was accused of being an artificial intelligence. I went in on the PC, so my hands were dangling at my side, and I was just kind of rolling around.
Right.
And they're like, "This guy could be anybody. This guy could be a robot. This guy's not a real person." I'm like, "Hey, yo, I'm a dude. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm not a robot."
And it'll run on a potato, You've got it for you've got it for. I've still got two Oculus Go's sitting around, which actually they're very quite good for your. Might be quite good for your mother as well, because with these you get something like Ocean Rift. You can just throw that on their heat, and with the bubbles and the fish going by, happy forever.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Rather interestingly, my mother likes epic roller coasters on it.
Really?
Yeah, when they brought out their Christmas map at Christmas time, literally we just had to go like, we better take her out of there now, because she just went round and round and round and round and round. She must have been in there for about half an hour and just going, right, okay, better rescue her.
Half the fun of having a VR headset is putting people in it, whether they're parents or whoever, and then just watching them freak out, right? In a good way, a bad way, but it's just exciting to see them like experience this world, and they're just like, wow, but you have to be mindful, especially if they can run, because they might run. You have to like catch them. You need like
one of the ones I loved watching of somebody in their first experience with VR was right. My niece is 18 or 19 now, so it's when she was up with 3 of her friends, right? And her brother, who was a year younger, and that was it. My niece and nephew, they've played like the VR a good few times. Nephew loves it. He gets my cast-me-downs. He got my CV1. He then got my Rift S. I got the CV1 back, so I'm really chuffed about that, because I missed it. It held a special place. However, it was one of our friends going into the Oculus experience. There's that one in the caravan just to introduce you to everything, where you play with a 3D printer, which gives you interactable objects.
Yep.
But the first thing she did was get on the floor and look underneath the bench that you're standing in front of. And I was sitting there flabbergasted going, I never thought of that. That never once occurred to me. Right? Yeah. But it was the first thing that she did was just go down and look underneath the bench, and you've gone like, okay. You know that you've like just had an effect on someone. I suppose another one I could say that's similar or a wee bit different, and again it would be Donnie the Scottish Werewolf. His nephew and niece, they'd come up here and they were playing Fruit Ninja, and they were passing the headset backwards and forwards quite nicely. And anyway, we'd gone off and just left them to it, and came back and found one of them was wearing the helmet and the other was watching the screen, and they had a controller each, and they turned it into a two-player game. And it was really quite a touching moment in VR.
Yeah, I love that I could picture like a brother sister combo doing that. I used to stab the fruit, and you could get them all inside the sword, and then you could pick them up and you could slice them all at the same time. That was another thing you could do. You could stack the fruit inside there. But that combination of like sharing the experience and coming up with creative solutions and seeing something me and you, how many hours we've logged playing VR, who knows, God knows, right? But then someone new comes in and they're like, that breaks your brain to see them do something they never have done before. I'm sure John, right, who friend of ours, just launched an amazing new place. Could you, Anna, do you want to say a little bit about it? I just watched his updated systems on everything he did. Can you say a little bit about what John and his crazy catwalking systems have been up to lately?
Yeah, of course. Well, John was on your show somewhere in the 130s. The episode was February the 2nd. I remember that much. So we are talking 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, John had the plans. He was looking to get a bigger premises. At that point, he was working from. It was a cabin that he'd built himself in his garden, which had the space for 4 players, which is quite impressive. When I first of all met him, he actually had one room with his simulator in it, and it was actually his upstairs hall / stairwell. Started that, which was give you it was big, right, and had of course a safety guard across the stairs, and that's where his VR experience was really starting, and that's when he started taking in customers at the weekend, right? So he moved on to his cabin where he was at last time, in February, but at that point he was looking to get a premises, and there was also things which I'm not quite sure what things he had talked about then, but I know there was a few things that he had to keep under the hat until they came to fruition. So he's partnered up with Ness Aviation. You will probably know Chris. I think he's somewhere in the chat there. He also comes into Phasmophobia with us, and normally gets us killed because he eats crisps loudly when Ghost is hunting. Yeah, thanks, Chris. We know. Right. However, so the pair of them found a nice larger premises.
Yeah.
And they did all the work all the work themselves, right? Yeah. So they must have spent probably a couple of months of that time going hell for leather, building this into a combination of a VR and a flight simulator experience. So John's got is it 3 catwalks, I think? He's got haptic vests for everyone.
Yeah.
He's got a collection of your Pro Tube rifles now. I know he's got an exclusive license for some escape rooms, but I don't know if I can talk about any more specifically than that. I think I probably can, but better not. Yeah. So they've got this full setup now. He's of course got his racing simulator in there, and alongside you've got Chris, who's got his 737-800. I don't know what the 800 is. I'm sure Chris will tell me in great detail next time I'm talking to him because I brought it up. And this is a full cockpit, which if you one of the videos should actually show that pretty much being reconstructed from its original place into there. And there's a fighter plane, I think F-15 maybe, set up cockpit.
Yeah, for the space, because I saw the construction that goes into building and creating and everything that they had to do to make it. So one on the VR side, I mean, you want to talk about it's way more than just a Quest headset that you can get at your house, because you have a full immersion. So on the immersiveness on the VR side, what's awesome about it is
it's F-16 apparently. I've been corrected.
F-16, but you have a whole weights, you have a whole, not only the vest, you can run, you have the haptics. So if you're going to go there with people and you be able to have a full immersive experience where you can run around and actually completely lose yourself, I mean, it's it's beyond, you know, the greatest thing about like arcades came about because kids couldn't afford those types of gaming at their
Yeah.
home locations. And so what's awesome about it is that you can go there and you can have a super deep, high level, very, very, very immersive experience with you and your friends in virtual reality, but you also can do on the flight simulator side. Although when I saw that, I couldn't help but to think of like Star Trek because of like you go inside that cockpit area and you have the simulators, and on the side windows you see the things going past you, right? And I was like, I mean, it feels like there's like a Star Trek kind of scene. You could almost run like in a escape room or some sort of like, you know, man the stations, go over here, we're being attacked, go there. It's like it's so like in terms of like the amount of tech that's inside there to kind of create a deeply immersive experience, I was really impressed by. So if just give him a shout out. If anybody's, how do people find that? Where do they go for that experience?
Well, on Facebook, it's the Inverness VR Virtual Reality Experience, which is run by John Watts. John Watts also is an admin in the Oculus VR Community group, so he's easy to track down there. If you can't find his other group, come to our group and we can show you that.
John, if you're in here, man, drop your link into the chat, and I'll put it on the screen for anybody that's seeing it, so it's easier for people to track.
Yeah.
But it's impressive, man, and I heard you played a part in help make that happen, which is super cool. Giving of the experience of VR to someone else and having their minds get blown, it's so magical, so magical.
Oh yeah. Now, I should also say they got their little boardroom, so like they can have some, you know, executive whatevers, you know. But in there, they can also give people training. So they got their retraining videos for Phasmophobia, and they've got all the props. They have got their there you go with the link.
I got it.
You know, so he's got his EMF detector. He's got the squelch box, the spirit box. And your various things, so you can actually take out these props and show people how to use them in real life before going in. You'll also probably notice if you show any of the video later on, the glowing handprints on the wall from the Phasmophobia theme. And he's got Pacman. Okay,
of course, classic.
So forget the rest. He's got Pacman.
That was actually one of my first experiences I've ever did in virtual reality. I did it in Las Vegas, this giant headset. It was held up, and I was doing Pacman in VR, running around, and like it was a mind breaker because I was running around. I was like, oh my god! And I realized how much harder Pacman is when you can't have a top down perspective, you know, and you only can run around with this giant system on. I was like, I think for me was one of those magic initial moments in VR that I was like, oh my god, like I want more of this in my life. So, shifting gears though, I want to say, so if anybody is interested in that, you can take a screenshot of this link and go and check out more of what John's got. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off because I do want to talk about, I want to kind of get towards the end of this. And I want to talk about something about, you've put a lot of heart, soul, energy, time into creating this meta community on Facebook. Do you have like a holy grail with it, a mission you're trying to achieve? Is there some sort of flag in the sand that you're trying to get accomplished by creating, crafting, growing this meta community?
Well, we're just trying to keep it as a fairly civil, a friendly group, which is not always possible, right? You always get people cut. When you got, I mean, we've got 69.3 thousand members at the moment.
That's awesome.
And there's definitely days when, a lot of days, when I remember, you know, I think at 4,000 members, I think that was the first time I ever had to kick somebody out of the group, you know?
Yeah.
You're going, you look back at these days when like you're going like, it all ran so nicely then. It was all so smooth. So I'd love to recapture these days. That's never going to happen. But the one thing I like, I prefer seeing the group growing, you know, slowly and steadily, right? Rather than expanding too fast. Because I think when you get these groups expanding quickly, you just get a lot of trouble coming in. And also, I mean, I've seen other groups which have, you know, fallen foul of that. They've just gone for the numbers, and they become you know, there's just a farm of bots in there posting crap and posting videos, which are useless, are of no use. I mean, of course, I think all the current groups are actually like all the groups that are on my current list are doing very well. I'm pleased to say like that. unfortunately, when the bots take over, I think that just kills a group that it's almost impossible to recover. So it's kind of just keeping it human, keeping it local. But I also like to have other little groups that I can go back to. So a wee example would be I'm a moderator in the Bearded Titans VR, which is, I don't know why they chose me. I mean, no idea. I'll probably get kicked out next month after the charity event. No, but I mean, they're a brilliant bunch. It's a really small. I think they've only got a few hundred people, right? But you've got all this, what would be inappropriate conversation going on in there if it wasn't for the fact that everyone's just joking, you know. You've got nothing happening in offense. There's quite obviously a lot of mental disorder in there. There actually is as well that's quite openly talked about in there. So it's actually quite a supportive group, despite all the strangeness. I mean, but these are kind of like, I kind of miss these little things from the Wii groups. I would love to find a way of bringing them back into the group as it grows, but yeah, it's always going to be a challenge. But as long as we can keep the worst elements out and just keep on growing in a nice way, I mean, it'd be nice if we could get more sponsorship, etc., where we get, you know, companies putting in stuff for our members, right? I mean, it's a volunteer group, right? The only thing we get out of it very much is like the occasional review set of something or the occasional review copy of a game. And then also, like, I suppose it helps us meet people like you. But, oh yeah, brown nose type. See, no, you got your headset.
That's fun, man. But that's right. So keeping it human as you grow, right? And also, you know, have those like little, because like the smaller tied of the community, the more you can kind of be real and be vulnerable and be wacky, be silly, you know, just, you know, talk shit, have fun, let loose. But then you want to have a big community at the same time. So how do you keep that human element and grow? Like, I mean, that's the, like, you know, my question for that one is like, you know, if you want to grow the community, keep oh, look at it. What up, kitty cat?
Hello. This is Sassy. Not too keen on getting picked up, but she's getting used to it.
She'll get to it. Yeah, cats, man.
Yeah.
Like,
there we go.
They got their own game going on. So if that's the thing, is you want to grow the community, keep it real. I mean, what is the biggest challenge? What's the dragon to face to be able to, you know, kind of keep it human as you grow?
Well, bots, really. You generally have bots under control, but then the code changes. They start bypassing, you know, like Facebook algorithms. Then you're spending time when you've got maybe 80% of people applying to post. You're just going, no, decline and block, and most of these you can see a mile off, right? But then things will change, and it'll take another month before you're managing to get them all blocked, and you've got a month where you're getting a lot more spam in there, and you're just going, why? You know, why do they do it? You know, we're trying to build this, and okay, they will be trying to like build likes and follows with this bot, so they can then rename the page and sell it off as the clothing store down the road, you know.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. That's it. They're just trying to get numbers for that, and you're going, well, it's so ineffective, and it causes so much grief to these groups. I mean, the bots are the biggest thing. I mean,
yeah,
but it's just a battle, you know. I mean, it's one of these things that, you know, the bots will like get a bit of an upper hand for a while, and then they'll get taken over again.
Well, that's why I think Elon Musk is bought out Twitter specifically to get rid of bots. Like that.
Well, if he does, that's good. But like, I can only say good luck to him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. That's what I mean. It'd be amazing. You know, Andy, it's been awesome to have you on, chatting with you. You know, we've kind of done a range of topics. Is there anything else you'd like to let people know about before you tell them how to get a hold of your community?
Don't trust John. He'll get you to buy stuff you can't afford.
That's good, solid. I agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, he's already got me. He got me an emotion chair as well, which I'm waiting on arriving.
An emotion chair?
Yeah, I went for a yaw too.
Oh no, it's so fun.
No, I think we've really covered just about everything I can think of at the moment. I mean, little things. You did mention eye tracking before, and the one thing that I'd almost double up on that, where it's got a great social impact and connectivity, for when you're talking to somebody.
Mhm.
Which I'm probably, I'm looking at you on the screen now, of course, and my camera's over that way. But that's also something which I see is quite important for rendering. When you know where the eye's facing, you can forget rendering much around the edges, and our headsets will become much more powerful without the extra power.
Yeah, foveated rendering. Yeah, absolutely. They're working on that. Hopefully we get that soon. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, they get that, and of course, like the Cambria, I've got money burning in my pocket. Well, I want that, because I want to be able to work in VR, right? I want to have my monitors in VR. The Quest 2 close, but just no. And that Cambria is they're going it's not for games, it's for this one's geared towards work, and I'm going, yeah, that's what I want. Bring it. So that'd be an excitement.
I want to try that. I'm going to go to the AW conference, which is the Augmented World Expo conference in a couple of weeks here. It's over in San Jose. They've got that Vario headset.
Take a big bag, get 2 of them. I'll have the other one. Give you a good price.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to smuggle one out, man. I just want to put it on my sweet head. I'm just gonna put it down and be like, okay, don't touch me. Leave me alone. I'll be back tomorrow.
Don't you need to develop something special for them?
Totally. Yeah. What are you guys looking for? I'm totally making that. Yeah. Give me one. Yeah, man, for sure, dude. Oh, it's beautiful. And so if people want to find your Meta VR community on Facebook, how do they do that? What does that look like?
Well, we are quite literally the Meta VR community. However, I really should have prepared a link beforehand, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, no, it's all good, man. What do you got?
I am just right. If you give me 2 seconds, I will have.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all good. So, yeah, the Meta VR community, it's an amazing community. I know that if you look at the header, it's usually a black banner at the top, and it's got the Quest on the top of the thing as well. And so, if you go into Facebook, I know if you hit search inside groups and you type in Meta VR community, you can find it. But I believe that Andy here is going to be doing some clever hacking to try to get that link up for us so that we can kind of share it. So
yeah, you might be crediting me with more skill. I was just going to put it in a private chat to you and let you deal with it.
Oh, okay.
I have just hacked your brain into posting that for me.
That's what's called social hacking right there, and I appreciate it. I'm gonna type it inside of here, and then what I can do is I'm gonna show it across here inside of here. I think I can do that. Yep, there we go.
Yep.
So that's the group, everybody. If you want to go join Andy, John, Lenny, and all of the amazing people at that community.
Arnuki. Don't forget Arnuki.
Anarchy. Sorry. And then go ahead and just click that link below. If you have an iPhone, I know you can take a screenshot and you can turn that into text. If you don't, you can just type that up. But thank you so much, guys. I very much appreciate you being on the show. John, thank you for commenting. Everybody else, the Scottish Werewolf, the VR Titan, all you other guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Andy, always a pleasure, my friend.
It's been a blast. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I really didn't know what to expect, and I actually do have my celebratory dram waiting here now that we're finished, because I didn't think it was a good idea to have a dram beforehand.
Oh, cheers, man. I got a drink here. This is what I got, man. But cheers, my friend. Have a beautiful and blessed day, my friend. I'll see you on the other side. Okay, brother?
Ranjava.
Cheers. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes of Reality podcast. Check out heroesofreality.com for more episodes. While you're there, you can also take the Heroes quiz to find out what kind of hero you are. Or, if you have a great story and want to be on the podcast, tell us why your hero's journey will inspire others. Thank you for listening.